chose up on me from the beginning. And I ain't even know what this was gonna be. You know, I'm finna go meet up with one of them old Snows, and you know, I thought it was just gonna be the regular old degular. You know, I go meet up with her, bust her down, and you know, gone back to selling my work and all of that old type of shit like that, cause that's what I was really doing at the time before I just got into this shit. You know what I mean? And you know, that was me. So yeah, man, I go to meet the little piece of game, and you know, first I thought it was some catfish shit, you know, because you know, I see the pictures, it's pictures of, you know, piece of game up in the strip clubs, all this old type of shit like that. So I'm like, this bitch different. You know what I'm saying? So whatever. So I finally cut into her, pull up on her. It's the real thing. You know what I mean? I'll never forget it, the Red Roof Inn. Pull up to that motherfucker. We go up to the motherfucking room, chopping game and so forth and so on like that. And she come right off the back, out the blue, like, you ever been a pimp before? Something along the lines, you ever been a pimp, and have you ever had a hoe before, and all of this type of shit like that. And you know, I froze up. Yeah, that's right, I froze up a little bit, but not in the sense of like I was scared or nothing like that. It's just the fact of the matter, 99% of the motherfuckers who will be in a position like that and get asked that by some real hoeing that's been doing this shit before you, know what some real pimping is, know what a real pimp potential is, and so forth and so on, know what it look like, smell like, cook like, and all that. You know what I mean? She, you know, it's what it is. So anyway, she gonna see the bullshit, so per se. So anyway, you know, I almost lied, and I would have lied if I did. I would have never been introduced to the game if I did. But I didn't. I told her, you know what? No, I ain't never done that before. Like, I got a lot of bitches that, I'm having my way. You know, I always been chose like that. And, you know, when I said that, she immediately said, I want you to be my P. You know, my pimp. You know, my P and all of that bullshit, that's that new wave shit. That's why I don't really like saying that shit. But, you know, she wanted me to be a pimp. She wanted me to do, she wanted me to do the do. So, you know, it was what it was after that, you know. We made some agreements and it came down to it. She checked the chicken to me right then and there. This how green I was back then. She checked the chicken to me, you know what I mean? Come up out the titty with it and check it to me. And I'm like, what's this? She like, that's your money. I'm like, oh, all right. So, you know, I try to play it cool and, you know, sat it off, you know, up in the little glove, ashtray, whatever. And, you know, we ride, you know, chopping game, you know, figuring out who I'm dealing with, shit like that, and vice versa. So, to move it along, you know, we did our little bidding for a little minute, but ultimately, I lost the bitch. I got pilled for a motherfucker that she used to fuck with, you know? So, I got pilled for a motherfucker that she, you know, was down with before. And, you know, like, you know, he sweet talked the bitch back, you know, I need you and all of this old type of things like that. And, you know, she had ties. So that's what it was. But ultimately, I give it to her. She real, and I still know her to this day. You know who you is. You know what I mean? She tell me like this. I would have stayed if you would have actually committed to what we supposed to be doing. And what that means is she introduced me to something to where I don't have to do much of nothing as far as physical attributes or, you know, overthinking myself or working harder than smarter like you supposed to. You know what I mean? That's what it was. So, you know, I'm like I said, I was a hustler, I was a dope boy, and, you know, doing all the kind of other little shit, you know. I'm 16, not 20, not 19, not 18, like all these new wave cats do. I was 16. All I knew was motherfucking me. I was dropped out, selling dope, and whatever else come to mind, you know what I mean? to get some paper. You know what I mean? So that's what that was. But anyway, you know, she like, yeah, like I'm kiting up out this motherfucker. I'm on the block pushing pack, and she like, I ain't coming back. I'm like, huh? She like, yeah, I'm gone. Like, you ain't gotta try to look for me or nothing. Like, I'm gone. I went back to where I'm, you know, and that's what it is. Like, and my explanation was given to me. Some motherfuckers don't even get an explanation. So, you know, I just give her the credit that, you know, she showed me in so many ways by just keeping it real how this game go. And you gotta stay on top of your toes. You gotta stay on top of your hoes all the way around. You can't be doing this, that, and the third while she doing this. And when something take place, you so caught up in your bullshit that you can't get to the shit that's gonna make sure you ain't got to do nothing. So with that being said, that's just a little short story time. We're gonna dive more into this topic, like, you know, in another day or two once I get everything set up. But you know, I'm just putting y'all on a little story time. We out here, you know, it's damn near gonna be 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm finna go ahead, take it in and lay it down. You know, smoking a good humping right now. It's down to the ass butt, but you know, whatever. Pop my shit on y'all right quick. You know what I mean? Like I said, that green and gold, shout out Don. You know what I mean? You know, I'm doing my thistle right quick. You know, the Black Panther, the one that sent Samantha. You know what I mean? But anyway, like I said, it's GNP the business, the Lord of my witness. I'ma go and get up out this motherfucker and, you know, stay sucker free.